Morning, Fred. Yeah, we have stayed neutral overnight. I was kind of hoping for this. I didn't want to wake up and be all the way up here, something like that. So, really liking the way this pattern is unfolding, even on the 15-minute chart. We go to the 1 hour and then even the 4 hour. Just looking at this, I like this bullish. I mean, if you go right here, you can kind of see a similar pattern. That doesn't mean it's going to be bullish. Um, I just think that we are I think the news is not going to be good for the dollar because if they're not going to raise an interest rate, then it's not going to be good for the dollar. And it depends on the rhetoric after that at 2:30. So I think in the morning time we get a little pullback, and then we start to come up, and then at news that we take out liquidity, possibly even this buy side, and then come down and take out whatever liquidity has been generated before then continuing on overall. So pop, pop, grind out. It's kind of like my prediction for today. I'd love to see it play out that way. Um, so when I say pullback, because this is an hourly, it's not like it's going to be. Um, we're not going to get a whole bunch of candles or anything like that. So um, we might get to here and then a pretty good move down, and then a pretty good move up, and then news, and then liquidity. I don't know if we'll take this guy out. I hope we don't. If we don't come all the way down and take this liquidity, out, then this scenario will probably play out. So that's kind of my view. Again, I like this pattern. It looks similar to this pattern. Got down here, consolidated, pretty good jump down, took out liquidity. I think that's what happened yesterday. And then we're gonna have a move up. One big huge candle that come all the way back down. That's what I feel like is gonna happen here for news. And then just a continuation to the next liquidity point. I just, you know, I'm trying my best not to have like this has got to be it or I'm not trading type of feeling. I'm going to try and be as non-biased as possible, but to me, this is a bullish pattern. Go to 4 hour chart. It looks familiar, doesn't it? Looked a lot like this area on the 1 hour. Right there. So this is kind of the type of patterns that I've been hanging in on. So longer term, like I was saying yesterday, I think we're bullish in the market. I mean, this right here, this candle, once we break above it, then there might be one more pullback in us, and then I go like, if we break above this area right here. Morning, Chris. So again, try not to be overly bullish and whatever because this could easily go the wrong way. News comes out, they decide to raise a quarter of a point, or let's say they don't raise a quarter of a point, we get a little small move up, and then Powell comes in and just starts talking how, yeah, we didn't raise a quarter of a point, we're going to, and we're still going to be aggressive with the interest rate in the near future if needed because, blah, 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 inflation is subsiding, but it's not subsiding fast enough. That type of rhetoric it'll kill the market and give dollar some strength. So you just got to be aware of that. Also, with Apex, you don't use deal anymore. I don't know if y'all knew that. I got an email from Apex saying change your payment method. You go over to the website on your dashboard on the right. right underneath useful links, there will be like a change your payment method immediately so we can continue giving you payouts, blah, blah. If you go to the payment method section, pull this over. So this happened on the 14th. Submit this info ASAP. We're not going to use deal anymore. They've used, they did made payouts before deal, so it's not that big of a deal. It does make it hard on them, but they will make it happen. They're going to be using bank ACH. As you scroll down, I'm not going to do that. But as you scroll down, you put in all of your information, like, for a payout. And so that's kind of where they're at now. It's one of those things like if you're not in the US, you can use Wise account to get a US based bank, but they're doing ACH payments to US bank routing and account numbers. So you have to have that. So that's the only change. Like they keep saying, hey, we were giving payments out before deal. Like we did this. We're old school. We've done it before. We'll do it again. So in order to get a payout, make sure you do that. Actually, I meant to start by talking about that. Forgot. The good thing is that we're going to have a full day of trading before the funds rate comes out. The bad thing is it's probably going to be pretty quiet. I mean, I would assume it's going to be kind of quiet. I don't think we're going to get a lot of action. So, if you do get a setup, then go ahead and take it. But just take profits when profits are there. One thing that I've been doing lately is when I am trading, I'm just hitting these targets that are not crazy amounts, and just taking it. Yesterday, we drop into a lower time frame. We had this long consolidation here. I was in a long trade somewhere in this area around in here when this made this pullback and we started to break. I went ahead and jumped in, and then all of a sudden we slammed down against me. Now I had my stop. In fact, I'll just be honest with you, I didn't have a stop. I had an idea of where I was going to like kill the trade. I didn't have a stop. I think I had a stop when it got this low and it started to break away from it. I think I did end up putting a stop market right here. Yeah, I know. Right. I was able to watch it the whole time. So it wasn't like I wasn't at my computer. If I was having to walk around and stuff like that, then I probably wouldn't have. But I didn't have a stop. I was willing to. It was on micros too, so it wasn't on the NQ. I was willing to give up, a couple of hundred easy, a couple hundred to 300 or whatever on this pullback, just expecting this to be the bottom. And felt really positive that we were going to at least make it back to the low, the Monday low. But even though I felt pretty positive here, this structure line kind of had me concerned. And then there's another one over here. Where you at? I got to go to the hourly. I'm on the 5-minute chart. Hang on. Let me get my bearings. All right. This structure line right here. It was the ES that I'm thinking of, but it was somewhere right in. This was the Monday low. Was it this guy? Might have been this guy. Yeah. Okay. So this area right in here on like the hourly too, right in here was a concern of mine in that trade. And so I had 16 pointed out for me. This was even though I was really comfortable with I was really comfortable with this Monday low. I had this 16 pulled out. Um, Honestly, the 21 was there, but it wasn't like I thought that the 21 would be meeting it at that same time. Just so happens it did, which would give me more confluence probably to get out right there. So this area would have been perfect, like that little gap area would have been, a pretty good area to probably try and take profit. So, anyways, I had profit set for right there. So I was in. It was I think it was 81. It wasn't as good of an entry as I thought it was going to get. So let me drop back down to 5. Yeah, it wasn't down in here. I think I ended up like, yeah, it was about right in here. So it was about 81. Because when he pulled back against me, I mean, it was almost a 30 point back against me. I was a little bit like, I might have gotten greedy because it was a real likelihood that this was going to break below here, and if it did, we were just going to continue down because we'd been heavy all morning, and this didn't hold, and it just kind of dumped, and then we started getting our footing and this holding here. So I was really comfortable after we kind of pulled up here, and there wasn't an immediate rejection. Kind of like this one was. We kind of consolidated, this was kind of a grind back up. And then as we started pulling back down, I was like, we're probably going back up here. So I was in there, then we pulled back, and then we came up, and then we pulled back again. And I was like, come on, built this liquidity. And we've seen this a couple of times over the last couple of weeks where we build this liquidity up, and then we tempt like we're going to hit it, and then we just dump. So I had ended up placing a stop about right there. And when this came down, I was fully expecting to go ahead and get stopped out of that trade. And then we broke out, and I went ahead and took it at this target, even though I had held it through all of this, and, it was good consolidation, a very good push. I just went ahead and got out easily right there. And then all of a sudden, bang. And then I could have left one on. I think I had 3 contracts on micro, so it wasn't a whole lot, but I mean, it's pretty good move. So small wins, news day today. So we ended up not only hitting the low, but just crushing all the way through the median. And then pulling back, I think, yeah, right in here for market around 3 o'clock, and then just leveling out. And I think Fred last night, I was like, I hope we just sideways trade I hope it's a quiet evening. And it kind of was. I mean, there's some good movement in the NQ overnight, clearly overnight and into the morning this morning. London Open. So, I mean, it wasn't like you couldn't make money on it or whatever, but, in the grand scheme of things, we go out, like, this is pretty moot, We dropped down, we went up. We basically got an average of right around in here. So, fully expect this to pull back. I don't want, just like I was saying earlier, though, I don't want this to pull back deep and then we get news. I would rather see a continuation, just a little pullback, higher high. I mean, a higher low right here, and then a continuation to make higher highs into the news, all day, even if it's, kind of like one of those broadening formations where we get higher highs and lower lows. And then news happens and just takes out highs and lows and then continues on. So we'll see. We'll see how that happens. But I didn't. This was yesterday morning. We were talking about a little bit of a move up and then a pullback, and I didn't expect like this large of a pullback. Of course, Monday low is pretty. This structure right here would have been nice. I thought we would come a little bit higher, and we didn't. We started just kind of breaking down, and this move huge all the way down We get to this structure line at market open. So this is what it looked like at market open in the structure line. It was very tempting, right? Huge dump into high lows right here, higher time frame lows. So if you were to take a long right here, expecting the weekly or even, breaking structure and continuing through the 21 up to other structure in the daily open, like, and you would have more than likely taken a loss right there, but it wouldn't have been a bad trade. Like, it wouldn't have been. I mean, it's a good candle. And then again, this is that candle that I love right here at support. We've taken lows out. We are at support. Fill this wick. Gonna fill. But if it's gonna fill, if I'm taking a trade here, my target's probably the top of that, or something in there somewhere. You've got a nice fair value gap here at the weekly. Overall would probably be the weekly or the median, but I'm taking a lot off right there at the top of that wick or near the top of that wick. Hindsight is easy to say that, but I mean, if that's really happening, that's what I'm doing. I love that candle. Next one comes in and we get this push down, but look where it goes. Look at the top of that wick. We got inside that fair value gap again. We didn't get to the top of that wick. 21's kind of bearing down, but the 21 was almost level, I think, at this time. But yeah, that would have been a scalp trade. As soon as this one closes, there's probably a slight pullback into here, and then it would have you could have marketed in right there and then targeted the top of that. Once it didn't make it and started pulling back, then you just get out. Don't anticipate these higher moves. Like, out. If we can't break the top of that wick, there's no way we're getting up here. But liquidity here had just been run, but then sold off. And then again, that candle is one of my favorite candles. I have a lot of confidence in that candle right there, filling those wicks. At support. Like, if this candle's up here, then it's not. I mean, it's literally called a shooting star or something like that. If this candle is up here, and just in breaking the candle down, if we talk about it, oh crap. Let's see if I can quickly draw it. All right. It's not. We get the eraser out. There we go. And then nope. Yep, messed it all up. Anyways, y'all know what I'm talking about. I'll do it the crappy way. I keep wanting to put too big of a wick on it. I mean, too big of a body on it. All right. If this candle is up here and we've worked our way all the way to it, and this is the last candle, the market has tried to push higher and then it sold completely off, right? So everybody got to their target and then it just sold off. And to me, if it's algorithmic, the algorithm got up into here, took all this liquidity, and now it's working. It's going to work its way back down. It's got enough. Like, that's what I read there, right? Yeah, shooting star. And it's called that for a reason, right? It gets all the way up here and then shooting stars fall. So you can anticipate the market to pull back. Now, whether it's a complete reversal or whatever, not the point. That's when I don't trust that wick to fill. We might get a pullback to like consequent encroachment, which is the midpoint of that wick, but it's not. There's no way it's coming all the way up here. In most situations, at resistance. So that's the reason why I really preach like learning how to read price action. Every single candle tells its own story if it's in a certain area. Some candles are really insignificant, but for the most part, every one of them are giving you an idea of what is to come. So, and here we had liquidity built up and then like a grab, like a liquidity dump. Not a dump, but liquidity grab into a higher time frame point of interest. So that wick is super important to this consolidation. The fact that it's just not this one huge solid candle into that liquidity is really important, because that is like that shooting star at a resistance, right? So I fully expect us to kind of bounce from here, even though it took us another candle consolidating before this one happened. It's the reason we got to be patient and really read the market. This candle comes in, gives us this nice push back up into this liquidity, but we did not close bearish. So more than likely, we're going to make another push into this liquidity. Remember that paint roller scenario? Just because we push into inefficiency, let me get all this off here. Just because we push into inefficiency or we grab some liquidity doesn't mean that we filled all the holes. All right. You got to go over that wall a few times before you can fill all the holes. So when something like this happens, that's a pretty big move up and then a pretty solid move down. Right. We've done that all in 5 minutes. And that's a big candle. That is a 30, 20 something point move, 25 to 30 point move in that one candle. So more than likely, this wick is going to fill because we're at support. We've taken liquidity. We've got liquidity built. We're going to fill that candlestick. So that right there could have easily been a 20-point winner on the NQ scalping. But that takes practice to kind of get into that, because this candle didn't open and just go up. Like, it opened and it just kind of went down and we're here, and you got to really pick it so you're not taking this drawdown thinking we're going to break down, because it could have very well done that. So you got to pick it at the right time to just mark it in, mark it out. And your stop would have been below this guy, if not below this guy. Below consequent encroachment of that wick. And you can, pick pieces of the market out in those moments and take on the NQ, 20 points, one contract, you do the math. So that's 400 in less than 5 minutes right here. And this is probably going to be less than a couple minutes if you do it on the micros, which if you're going to try this paper trade or micro trade this, like, this is just an easy in and an easy out. And you're going to micro trade that, 3 to 5 contracts. And if you get 20 points out of that on 3 contracts, it's, it's $60 a couple of minutes. Do that a couple of times a day, or, whatever. I mean, you're making a pretty good amount. Even if you only make 60 and that's the only trade you take in the day, that's pretty solid. But anyways, next candle comes in, dumps completely out. Done. That's the reason why we can't be greedy when you're taking a trade like this. You can't be greedy. Like, I'm not buying 6 contracts here, selling 1, holding 5, or selling 2, holding, whatever, So you can sell 3 and move 3 to break even, and that's perfectly okay. And you'd have to do that pretty quick. But, I mean, to me, this is just a scalp trade. All in, all out. Probably not. I mean, market open, it'd be tough to go ahead and have a stop in place. You might be able to do that, but real clear sign of where I want in and out. If you go to a 3-minute chart, you can see that what happens here. These 2 candles right here are the candle that ended with the white. I call it a bucket candle. So I don't know why I call it a bucket candle. I call it a bucket candle. So on a 5-minute chart, that's this candle. Those two on a 3-minute chart right there. We popped up, we come back down and see where we closed. So we left this open. Next candle opens up. In fact, let's see if we can't see what that candle does when we push it, because it kind of gives you an idea. I mean, if you look at the pattern, this pattern is beautiful, right? This, to me, is a bullish pattern. I'm thinking we're going higher all day. Look at that liquidity. dump into liquidity there. And then we're starting to break out. Like, almost glad that I wasn't really trading, watching, but not really trading. So, um, and then the next candle comes in. Okay. It clearly comes all the way up here first, right? And then dumps down, finishes right there. But we come up, break the 20. That would have been, that 20 or whatever, depending on the time frame you're trading on. Um, that could have been an out. You could have went up to the top of these candles, whatever. But that's that quick scalp. It takes practice, knowing the candlesticks, being able to watch it. Um, because after that, not pretty. So why not this one and not this one is because we have closed below. If I'm trading the 3-minute chart, this is a breakdown and we've closed below this. So I'm not taking, I'm waiting, right? So this is it's a very good little area of education. We've got consolidation. We've dumped into a higher time zone. I mean, a higher time frame POI, right? We just did it here and we did it again. But to me, this is a breakdown as opposed to a liquidity grab. One, we close below that wick. Two, it's a strong downtrend. I think during this time I was talking about how heavy it seemed yesterday in Discord. All right. And then this candle comes in, we pop back up to structure, which is this dotted line that we keep playing around. It's a pretty important area of interest. And then immediately reject back down from it. So in my mind, I'm not going long until we can get back above here, the 21, back above this structure. I want to see a push, consolidation, like a grind back down, and then I'm willing to go long again. Right now, I'm not willing to do anything. In fact, I think at this point in time, I was like, I'm still waiting. And then it breaks down. And then it just kept breaking down. So that's a great short. That's an easy short. But, we're at support, consolidating with liquidity, making breaks higher. Like, there's no way I'm going short right here based on this pattern. Right. If I am, I'm just complete 100% guessing. I just believe that the market is going down and I'm 100% guessing that that's going to happen. Yes, we do have like inefficiency and a fair value gap in which the candlesticks are coming into and rejecting from. And I mean, yes, you can justify in that way. But to me, and I think, Kyle, you were saying this too yesterday, that this was a pretty low area to be getting into. I think maybe you were down here saying it, but even then, this is still a pretty good move down. We're at support, yes. And that's the reason why I would have expected a bounce. If we had to come back up and started taking some of this inefficiency out and then started consolidating here and then started rolling, then yeah, short all day. But this is a buy zone for me. So when we rolled, this would have been, deep discount. And then, you could have made the decision, okay, we close below that wick. We're probably going to break down further. This candle comes up, starts to break down. You make that decision then. And like, yeah, I'm going to go short here. But if you're taking a short right here for this move, to me, 100%, like, I just think you're guessing. And don't get me wrong, works out for you in this case. But yeah, really like that liquidity. Thought we were going to go higher here. We just didn't get that. Like, this candle comes in immediately. Well, the 3-minute chart it does, but on a 5-minute chart, like, we hold this white candle here, we come back up and we don't break above it. Yeah, that was kind of an indication to me that not really not trusting it. And then, so that was up here. We break all the way down into here. If you go to a 5 minute chart, I'll get it right here in a second. Yeah. I think what this was the 10 o'clock candle. So this is your Casper trade, right, Fred? And you started to get into it and then you flipped your position and it ran against you. Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to take a short here. And I'm perfectly fine with you going long right there. Like I 100% understand it. I think I would have waited for a little bit more consolidation, confirmation that we were going to go up. Obviously, in hindsight, it's easy for me to say that because, we clearly did not. And then we did have a long consolidation before going up. But just knowing, like, I've been beat in this scenario plenty of times. Not going to say that I've never gone short here, and not going to say that I have never gone long here. But I've gotten to the point now where I wait for a lot, and I'm distracted too, so it helps out. I've come to find out that the classroom is the best place for me when trading, because I can get up and distract myself. I can walk away from the charts, get busy, and then when I come back, I get a whole new story, and I'm like, oh, okay. This yesterday morning was one of those times where we had a huge dump after a pattern in which I thought was going to be bullish. And I was like, not feeling it. So I got busy. Um, I don't see why we go long at 10, around 10 a.m. So the Casper, let's see, well, this fair value gap on a 5 minute. So we get a rejection. We get a pretty good dump here and then a pretty good move back up. If you go to a lower time frame, if you're just on the 5 minute chart, you've got a fair value gap right there. You can see how it comes in. It looks like it's going to respect it, and then it just falls off. So there's probably a lot of people, or there's probably a lot of traders that did try and go long right there. Um, but yeah, I'm not going. I didn't go long here, and I wouldn't go long there. Yeah, 2, you're in deep discount. So some people on higher time frames are going to have areas marked out to the left. There's no, yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean, like being a little more patient and waiting for a little more of that to play out. Um, so, so you're right. But there's a lot of people who have been looking for this area to just place a long trade in, right? They play the higher time frames, not the lower time frames. And they've been waiting for, this zone right here to be touched. And as soon as they're in this zone, they have something set up to where they'll take a buy trade at entry, a buy trade down in the lower area, and then possibly another buy trade when it comes out. So they're in small, built their built their position on the way down, and on the way back up, confirmation, add to their position, and then they're selling out right in there. And they'll be in some drawdown, and they're perfectly okay with it because they have the accounts for it. And they'll play the NQ, they'll play the micros. This is a forex type of trade. This is also a trade, a style of trading which a lot of people use in the stock market, but higher time frames, and they're holding for longer periods of time. I don't trade that way because I'm not willing to give up that much. So, but yeah, absolutely. There's not a break of structure there. Stick to your plan, right? So if we go back into a 5 minute chart, I don't know what line I just moved. I think I moved it back. So let me take these off. But if we go back into a 5 minute chart, you're right. There's not a break of structure. If you go to a 3-minute chart, you start seeing some structure and consolidation happening. And then if you drop even further into a 1-minute chart, you could justify this candle right here being a break of structure of this right here. So when price comes back into that fair value gap, taking that trade. And this is what looks like, all right, that Cameron trade, right? You drop down to a 30-second chart, you have clear structure, right? And then we have fair value gap, price comes back into it, you go long from right there, and you're looking for 10 to 12 points. Didn't happen, you would have lost on that trade, right? Because again, on the Cameron trade style on 30-second chart that we were talking about yesterday, we've just dropped into a higher time frame liquidity, and we're looking for that immediate reversal. And it gives us that in this structure with this push. So on a 30-second chart, this looks like a pretty darn good rejection structure break back into it. We're looking for that move, and it just didn't happen. It just kept going. So it just depends on the time frame that you're trading on and the style of trading that you're doing. You know, I've been really focused on the 15 and the 5-minute chart lately, especially the 5. I don't know, I've been reading it pretty good lately. I'll drop into the 3 every now and then, but and sometimes the 3-minute chart, after looking at the 5-minute chart, I look for an entry in the area that I want, like a fair value gap or something in the area that I want. And on a 3-minute chart, we had a small fair value gap here at the top there. And then we worked our way back down. And then this type of a move up into here. There's no fair value gap, but that's a pretty good move. And then I think I went long on the push up here, 81. Yeah. We pulled back into this candlestick here, and that's where I went long at yesterday. That rejection. And then I went long somewhere right in there because I thought this was the move. And then we dumped. And then we came back up, and then we consolidated forever, and then we finally did get the move. So absolutely higher time frame for setup, lower time frame for entry. And if you look at a 15-minute chart at this time, where are we at? Where did we go? Jeez. Sorry, guys. You know, that's kind of, pretty good, right? Nice little consolidation here. This wick right here was very pleasing. And then this right here, we don't close. We don't, for one, we don't get below that wick, but we don't close below the midpoint of that wick either. Right, on this candle. And then this one comes down and comes back up and breaks out. So we're going higher at that point. I was pretty confident we were going up. I didn't know when I got into that trade. I thought I'd waited long enough and it was going to happen when I got into that trade, and then it didn't. It held off. So I had to go back out to some higher time frames and just kind of look and see, okay, what am I willing to give up in this situation in order to, take the profit that I want. So I don't know if y'all listened to ICT the other day on that. I don't know if it was a Twitter space or whatever. Somebody tagged it on Twitter, and he was talking about that Cameron trade, and he was talking about like giving up 12 handles to win 10. And he was like, I know that just blew a lot of people's minds that you're risking more than what you're trying to make. And in this case, that's exactly what I did too. Like I risked more than what I actually took off of it. I was willing to drop all the way down into here and give up $300-400, and then I only made like 200. It was almost an inverted 2-to-1. But I was just pretty confident in the fact that exactly counterintuitive. But again, I think experience plays into there. I've done it a while, and reading the market pretty good. Thought we'd come back up into these areas. Thought that this setup was going to happen And it didn't happen when I wanted to. It had to continue itself, but it never gave me any indication that, yeah, I'm about to lose this trade. Like there was never that sinking feeling of I need to go ahead and get out. I'm about to lose this trade. Um, I was pretty confident in the fact that even though we did pull back in this area, that we were still going to break out. Um, so yeah, I was willing to give up a lot of ground in order to make what I was pretty sure it was we were going to make. Yeah, yeah, and I journaled about it yesterday. Once I got done, I didn't journal the trade. I just journaled my thoughts in why I held on to that trade. Because up here at market open on those 5 minutes, I'm literally telling you like there's no reason to be holding. There's if it doesn't work out, get out immediately because it's not going to work. This is a completely different mindset here than it was here. Right. The market is giving me something completely different in this area that it's giving me in this area. I had no idea what the market was going to do at open here. So therefore, if I see the pattern that I want, I'm going to take it and I'm looking at a clear target. I'm in and I'm out completely. Down here, there's not really a clear, I've got a target, but I mean, look where it went. Like this was a larger move than what I ended up taking off of it. So there's not really a clear 100%. This is where I think the market's going to go, or this market's going to get here and just dump. So here, I just have to be like, this is where I want it to be. So I'm going to be out at that point. And I'm willing to hold through this area down here, even a couple of points below it. Give it some room. So the mindset here later in the day, man, I tell you, I got to get batteries in my mouth. Sorry. My mindset here later in the day is completely different than the mindset at market open. And I think that was something that's really changed in my trading as well. Is not every single trade is the same. Not every single setup is the same. So having a plan is 100% great. And when learning, stick to the plan. Get used to taking the trade based off of a scenario that happens in the market quite commonly. Like, do it. But as you develop as a trader, plans fail. And you still need to be evolving and learning more things because the market, people made money on the way down here, but people made money on the way up right there. Right. People made money on this Casper short sale because at Casper, I mean, it still dropped about 40 points on the NQ, but their 2-to-1 was 80, you know. But there were people that took partials and took, whole profits because that number just looked good to them. So they went ahead and took it off. And then at the same time, people like me were waiting for the long trades in this area to go long. While people's making money going short, I'm looking to go long. So there's so many different ways that you can make money in the market at any point in time that I think it's important to, have a plan. When that pattern sets up and it just happens, nail it. But then you also have to be able to be, a little flexible in the fact that the market doesn't look the same every single time you trade it. And patterns are going to fail. Plans are going to fail. So you need to have either backup plans or shift, ways to shift the fact that, I'm not willing to hold for higher ground here, even though it looked extremely bullish, but I'm willing to hold here because we've got a lot more room and the market has settled and we are consolidating. So we're going to make a move up into inefficiency and liquidity from this point. So it's a complete mindset shift. Like, so you can't be too robotic in your trading because if you are, one, you'll miss out on a lot of opportunities. Two, you'll take losses and get so discouraged because you're just not winning based on the plan that you've created because it's the only plan you're using. So that's, and it takes time to do that because you got to gain the confidence in the fact. That's the reason why I teach reading the market, like Casper trading plans, awesome. The ICT, higher time frame, fair value gaps, breaker straight, awesome. Great. Have those plans. Using the moving averages, awesome. Anything that helps you out. But if you can't read candlesticks, if you can't read structure and you don't know where support and basic support and resistance is, you're going to struggle. I don't care who you are. I don't care what plan you're using. You are going to struggle. And everybody's going to hit that at different points in their evolution of trading. I'm at the point where I feel like I see things before they're going to happen now. Like I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. I've watched the market long enough. I might be wrong. Out of five, I'm probably going to be wrong twice. But those three times I'm right, I'm going to nail it. And I'm going to make more profit on that now than I did back then. Because back then I was so scared of it. And then also back then, I would have taken four losses in this area and quit trading for the day before that move happened. I'd have been in early. I'd have redeemed myself. I would have knew 100% we're going up. So I'd have taken four losses in this area because I had too tight of a stop. Whereas here, I'm like, I'm going to trust the analysis. I think we're moving up. I'm going to hang on to it. I'm willing to give up some ground. So, and it just takes time in doing that. So, all right. Well, yeah, absolutely, Kyle. I appreciate it. Yeah, 100%. I haven't even looked at that today. So, very similar to what we were looking at on the NQ. Yeah, absolutely. You sure did. So, and really, this right here is beautiful on the ES. At the same time, the NQ. That's where I want my next evolution of trading to come from. Is the fact that I'm going to be in a trade here because I'm also in a trade on the NQ because of similar patterns, right? That's what I want. Hey, take it easy, Chris. Absolutely, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. But yeah, so the ES beautiful consolidation here, dip into that structure. There's probably something left here that's showing us this is a pretty good area of liquidity grabbing. And then we break up. And on the 15-minute chart, you go into a 5-minute chart, and this is probably just a plus scenario. Taking a buy all day. And honestly, I've admitted this before. I think the ES has been a lot cleaner than the NQ lately at times. And then we pushed all the way back into the Monday low, and we got all the way up into here. And actually, yeah, a little liquidity purge there before dumping, and then just leveled out. So I have the same feeling here. It looks like we're a little bit stronger on the ES. Wait a minute. I think on the NQ. No, on the ES, yeah. They're almost identical. I think the reason why I want to say it's a little bit stronger is because this little pullback here into this structure looks better than the NQ. Oh no, it's almost identical. I think visually, I guess maybe because the ES is still below its median, NQ's above it. We're above that. We're at a structure line. So maybe visually, I'm just seeing it a little more pullback in the NQ as opposed to the ES. Let me. All right. But with the ES, just like the NQ, like what I'm, as far as today goes, I I still do believe like this is a pretty good grind to the upside, which is good. So we're building that liquidity here. So I'm seeing, kind of a channel here. Eventually we're going to come back down and grab that. How far we come down, don't really know. Daily right here is at a pretty good area of structure. That's the 9 o'clock position yesterday, the 9:30 open right there yesterday. So that's where this daily open is. So even if we pop up a little bit and grab some more of that inefficiency right there, I can see us pulling all the way down into just the daily and not actually going to the Monday low. And then maybe a little bit of a move. And then maybe news comes out, sometime it's going to be 2 o'clock when the news comes out. So we got enough time to push and then pull back. I would like to see us do something like this. The same thing that I would love to see on the NQ. I want them to be pretty in tandem. So a little push, pull back, and then a higher high. Maybe not grab this liquidity yet. And then when news comes out, our initial reaction is down, and then our overall reaction is up. And it could work out opposite of that, right? We could we could actually go up, then down, and then grind out. The news will dictate how that works out. But during the day, like we're getting into these areas and inefficiency and stuff where going higher to me is going to be harder. Um, so I would expect another little maybe move to grab the rest of this and maybe a little bit of this liquidity, and then at open we pull back into this liquidity. But I don't want to see us continue lower. Leave this inefficiency for the news. Let the news come down and grab this liquidity out. So even if we kind of hang out and then the news comes in and we pop to grab liquidity and then dump, if we haven't already come down here during the day, then this is a pretty good area for price during news to kind of get into. Now, where it stops down here, I don't know. Obviously, I already said it. I don't want it to go below this low down here. And then we can get some moves back up after that happens. And when the dust settles, maybe we can get an ends trade back to the top after 2:30. A little late rally in the day. But again, this pattern is a pattern that I like to see. I'm going to move this all the way over because of where it's at. This is that buy side liquidity. I'm going to change that. And this is pretty close to the Monday low. I'm going to put it there though, because that could be a spot where it kind of wicks down into without getting into the thing. And when I put these lines out here, when I put these structure lines out here and extend them into the future, like I want to see what price is done near them or what's kind of hanging around those lines. So if you look at this structure line, look at how yesterday's market reacted to, not yesterday's market open, but overnight market reacted to this structure line, right? Consolidated and touched on it. Let me make that bigger so y'all can see it. Right. And then broke down below it, right? Monday low, hung on, broke down below it. And then what do? We push all the way up. Look at this huge inefficiency we leave behind. And then price comes all the way back down to that structure line. Kind of closes where this candlestick did, or bounces where that candlestick did. And, inside that inefficiency right there, which is still kind of there. There's still some inefficiency right in there. So price has a reason to come back down and get that. But that's the things that I'm looking at too when I'm looking at structure lines that I place on the charts. What else is in that area? um quite possibly. I do not want, I mean, if it, I 100% could see, because of news, price getting below here. We got a lot of inefficiency in this area, and there's a reason for it to be down in here. If we get all the way to 62, I think we're going lower. I don't think we're bouncing here. I think we're going lower. So I would love to see news bring the candlesticks down into something like right in here, right? Leave this open. Let that just be there. I'd rather see something in this area bouncing it up, keeping it up, and then let's let that be the lowest low. And with FOMC, with the funds rate, there's no telling, man. That's the reason why technically, like, we can have an idea that price is going to come down into here, but there's no way for us to tell where exactly it's going to stop when news happens. Because how many times have we seen non-farm or CPI? The expectation is to have like a huge candle, right? And then we get something like this. We're expecting something like that, and it ends up being something like that, and it's just nothing. So I think with the funds rate, we're going to get a bigger candle, obviously. But It really just depends on the morning leading up to it. Before news, before 2 o'clock, I don't see us down here. If we're down here before news, then we are definitely going further down and probably not higher. So, but again, so many scenarios. That's the reason when it's a news day like this, like technicals are a good thing to have on your chart, but you just have to let that candle do what it wants to do before making the trade. Same here, Fred. That's to get going myself. Is that cool, Kyle? I think if we do break below 84, then yeah, we've got some more downside to go. I don't know if we go all the way to 62. If we go all the way to 62, then I think it's pretty bearish, and I think we're going to continue bearish. So, but it's good to have that in your mind. Like, just keep it because it's a possibility. But again, I like this pattern to be bullish. I think even with the news, I think we get some type of Casper shallow ends fed my it sure is. But all of that, Pat, starts with price action and market structure. All of that is price action and market structure. Like if you can read price action and market structure, all of those other things is confirmation. It's just confluence to what you already see happening on the chart. Best way to put it. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think I'm going to stop here. I hope everybody has a good day. Be careful around the news. 2 o'clock is when it happens. So maybe we can make money before the news and we don't have to worry about it. All right. That would be awesome. Just go ahead and make the quota and get out. Let everybody else get beat up with the news. All right. Y'all have a good rest of the day. I'll holler at y'all tomorrow and be safe.